Welcome to Stage Time Podcast. My name is Travis Valle. This is the podcast where we talk to comedians about hallmark experiences in their comedy careers. Today, I'm joined by my guest, John Rademacher. John, say hi.
Hey, how y'all doing?
John is a very talented comedian from the Charlottesville area. He's been doing comedy for 6 years?
6 years.
Okay. I'm going to talk to John today about his first time doing comedy. So we'll build up to that at some point, but I want to go through a little bit more background before we get into that. First of all, how are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good, you know. We were talking about this before the podcast started. I'm a teacher. You were a teacher. Congrats on getting out. So we just started summer break, so I'm starting to relax. Finally don't have an alarm going off in the morning, so I'm loving life right now.
Yeah, I have a baby, so I don't have that luxury, unfortunately.
I won't have that for a while.
Yeah, hopefully. You might already have it, who knows?
As far as I know, I don't.
Which, by the way, I just got an email from Dwayne White. You know Dwayne White, right?
Yeah.
He's having another comedy contest. So.
Oh yeah, Kobe was texting about that. I need to get on that dude's mailing list, but no.
I did his mic 2 weeks ago, something like that. It's pretty good.
It's a fun mic.
Yeah, and I did one of his showcases, which was really good. I like the area, and I was on that with Nathan Carlson and Winston Hodges, actually.
That's a good
one. We were just talking about. Yeah, so that was a really good show. I'm looking forward to doing that more over the summer, so where I can explore more mics and hopefully get out a little bit more. I wanted to go to the Southern yesterday, but my wife said no, so I didn't go.
Yeah, that's a good reason to not go. Yeah, we did miss you though. Yeah, no, that's kind of that's what I want to do this summer. It's just like now that I don't, have to get up super early. I can drive more and like get out to more mics. So,
how many people came out last night?
I want to say like 26 comics.
Oh, okay, so pretty standard for Southern.
Yeah, pretty standard. It wasn't like a night where we get over 30, but like, yeah, there's about 26 comics, so we all only got like 4 minutes.
Gotcha. Well, maybe she saved me from just going last.
Yeah, if you had been there, we would have had to go to 3 minutes, and it would have been a nightmare.
Yeah,
but no. It's a good night. The crowd was pretty good. We didn't get the standing room, but seats were full. They were pretty fun.
Yeah. What I hate is when I go to a mic and there's not enough people where I can get actual feedback on my jokes. And it's like, what did I drive out here for?
I mean, nights like that, when it's like just comics, that's just when for me, that's like, you just do all new stuff. Or is it, if it's a joke the other comedians have heard, like, all right, let's try this tag, let's try this, I don't know, let's switch something up, like play with the premise more that I don't know, just try to make it like that's why I gain something from this.
Well, that kind of touches on something I wanted to go over a little bit later, but we can talk about it now, which is how do you approach mics differently than when you first started doing comedy?
I approach them differently in that, like, I understand, like, all right, so like I don't like, because there's a while when I first started, I was like, all right, I got to kill every single time, and you just got to you have to learn, like, all right, so killing's good, but some nights you're gonna bomb. You're just gonna bomb, and you're bombing sometimes just because you're trying a new joke and it's not there yet. Maybe the premise is good, maybe you're gonna get there, but like it's just new and doesn't work yet. So yeah, just like not being afraid of bombing when I'm doing something new, or if it's an old joke where I'm just like, I know this is funny and you just don't like it. Like maybe this is just not the joke for this crowd. Like just kind of knowing, like, I don't know, not every show's gonna be good. You just gotta. Sometimes there's a lesson, sometimes there's not, and you just got to tell them the difference between those two. Not getting offended when it's like a bar show and it's an ambush show. What do you mean an ambush show? An ambush show is when, like, so it's just a bar show or like at a brewery, and the regulars there don't know there's a comedy show happening, and so you're ambushing them with comedy. And so we've all been at a restaurant where, like, there's a band. They didn't know it's gonna be a band there, but you can tune out music. You can't tune out comedy. We need you to pay attention. And so I've been to these shows where there's a mic or a showcase where, like, the regulars don't know there's a comedy show happening, so they're not trying to pay attention. And then, like, you get offended on stage, you get mad. You're like, no, I need you to listen. And, like, you feel like you're bombing. And you're like, no, I'm funny. You're just not paying attention. Like, I just learned, like, all right, so, because every now and then, not every time, but sometimes at the shows, like, you're on stage and the table's immediately in front of the stage. They're paying attention.
Yeah.
I'm just like, all right, I'm gonna just play to these like 4 people.
Yeah.
If the rest of the bar is just not paying attention, like I'm not gonna try to get their attention because that's just
Don't start calling people out.
It's a lost cause. You're just gonna piss them off. You're like, all right, so the people who care about the show are laughing. They're having a good time because it's like, well, I've done it. I've seen other comics who you just start yelling at the people there, and you're like, no, dude, like it's a Tuesday. I'm hanging out after work. Or it's like, or there's a family having dinner. It's like our daughter's at college. We're visiting her for the weekend. Like, can we have this nice dinner? We didn't expect you to fucking be here and tell your dick jokes. I'm assuming I'm allowed to curse on this.
That's fine.
All right, we'll bleep it. For
There's not too long ago actually at Khaled's mic at Bricks in Stanton.
Say it right.
I know, right? There was an older couple. They were at the table that was like closest to the stage, and as I ran into them leaving, I was at the bar trying to get something. They were trying to cash out. Mm-hmm. I overheard them talking about like, this place is horrible. When do they do their mics? Like the first and third Wednesday or whatever. I was like, all right, we're gonna come the second and fourth Wednesday. Like they're deliberately, like they were angry about it, and they were just talking smack the whole time. And I thought that was very mean-spirited and rude of them. I wanted to say something to them, but at the same time, I was like, I should just let this go.
It is rude of them, but it also, like, I don't know. I kind of understand it. You're like, you just want to have a nice evening out at some restaurant, and they're like, oh, these idiots are trying to tell jokes to us, and we're not here for this. Once again, you can't tune it out. You have to pay attention. It also sucks that they were literally sitting front row.
Yeah. Well, what I think I was most offended at was that it was talented comedian tour, because it was guys like Taylor Knight or Colby Knight, and they were trying out new stuff that, was, as you said, is kind of in flux as to how funny it is. So they didn't get the biggest laughs, and they're like, these unfunny people come. It's like, no, they are funny, but you're catching them on a...
You're seeing them when the jokes are new and after they're figuring them out.
Yeah.
And you have that's the other risk you run. You run the risk of like, all right,
first impression.
We know these guys are funny. You've seen them just like destroy.
Yeah.
But these people in the audience have never seen them before, and their first impression is like, oh, this guy's bombing because this joke he's only told on stage twice.
Yeah.
And it just isn't a funny joke yet, but it will be. So.
I have learned to be more open to new comedians I see at open mics, where I was like, maybe this isn't their best work, and not to immediately judge. Because that was kind of how I got started in comedy. Was I was at a music open mic, and someone came and tried out comedy.
Those can be interesting.
Yeah. I do those all the time because I play music. I was there to play music, but some guy showed up to do comedy, and he was terrible. And he came like 2 or 3 weeks in a row, and he bombed all times.
Question, was he just objectively bad, or was it just like, it was just not the vibe for the room? Because I've done a music open mic where just like, it didn't go well, and like, I don't know. Once again, I was also very new, so like, I was just not funny. But also like, I was on stage and like, oh, I shouldn't have done this because these people are not here for this.
To his credit, it did have the structure and cadence of a joke. It wasn't just some schmuck who came up and started telling a story about him and his bros getting drunk or something.
All right, put a pin in that.
Yeah. So he was just, well, for one thing, it was, and this is, I'm trying to save this story for whenever I talk about my first mic, but it was 2016, it was election year, and he was doing jokes about the election.
Of course.
And so it just, and then what really set off and made the host ban comedy from that open mic was that the day after the election, because it was on Wednesday nights, election night's Tuesday, day after the election, Trump wins, 2 people came in with MAGA hats. And they went to the bar, and they're just ordering drinks. And he happens to be on stage at the time, and he calls them out. And he starts asking them questions like, how can you vote for Trump or something like that? And he's like, we're just here for a beer. And he's like shouting at them from the opposite side, and he's just trying to roast them because I think he thought it would get people on his side, but it didn't. And it just pissed everyone off.
Ambush comedy.
Yes.
They don't know there's a show happening. On top of that, not only are you mad that they're not paying attention, you're mad that you're just pissed at them in general. You're just like, I don't like you personally. Also put a pin in that because it's another thing.
All right, we'll circle back.
Just keep the that way. Anyway, we'll circle back to that. But anyway, another thing about the mics that you reminded me of is I'm always excited when I see a new person.
Yeah.
But the thing I like just like I sigh when they just tell the story.
Yes.
Because so many, you've seen it.
Yes. That is, I think, the number one mistake people who try it out for the first time do.
Yes. They think, all right, and they tell some story for the entire set. And now, granted, I'm sure when the story happened, it was fucking hilarious.
And when they tell it to their friends who know everybody involved.
So just you're telling us a
Over
story,
dinner.
and it's a family road trip story, but you know everyone involved, and you know their idiosyncrasies and all the backstory with the relationship and everything, and you don't they don't always explain it properly. We don't know why your grandmother has this thing with your little sister. We don't know who hates who and why. We don't know who has we just don't know all the backstory. Mm-hmm. And so it's a long ass story, and the very end's the punchline. And so then we don't understand half the setup, and then we're not going to laugh at the punchline. And they don't realize, when they see comedians great storyteller comedians, they don't realize that along the way you're telling jokes along the way. And also the story.
There's punchlines.
There are punchlines that you're adding in, because the story you're hearing is not 100% how it happened.
Yes.
Because often
that's the thing too.
Yeah.
I had to get over that for a while too.
Oh yeah, no. Don't feel ashamed about adding, throwing something in,
making
or,
stuff up,
stretching the truth a little bit,
embellish it.
Yeah, but do that for jokes, because usually a story told 100% true through and through is not going to be as funny, because you're building up an insane amount of tension, and you get to the punchline, and the punchline doesn't hit because we're not there, we don't know everyone,
or people have tuned out because the story's uninteresting.
Or we tuned out. Yeah, so the longer you build up tension, the harder the punchline has to hit, and it's just not going to hit when we don't know your fucking family or all your friends, your college friends. We don't. Yeah, so
there should be a term to that, the ratio of exposition or setup to punchline or something like that.
Just we'll make an equation.
Yeah.
Post it online. Post it somewhere. Get other people's feedback on it. All right. So the amount of tension built has to be equal to the
punchline.
I don't know what's the right word. Just
payoff.
The payoff of the punchline.
Yeah. That's why when I first started doing comedy, I specifically went for one-liners, because I was I don't want to waste people's time telling super long stories. I want to do these quick little bits. There'll be a punchline at the end. They'll either laugh, or I can just quickly move on to the next set without wasting too much time for anybody. But it takes time, so you got to grind over it.
Punchlines seem hard. I respect any comic who just does punchlines for his entire set.
Well, I think a lot of that comes to comedians that you like, and comedians that you kind of model some of your stuff after, maybe, or that you decide this is the type of comedy I want to do. So with that being said, did you have any specific influences before you started?
Oh, John Stewart, 100%.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah, no.
Daily Show?
Oh, yeah.
Or his stand-up? I've never
Daily
actually
Show.
seen him stand-up.
He has a special. He has a couple Just for Laughs. You can find clips online. He has a special called Unleavened, which is a great special.
I loved him on Daily Show, back in early 2000s and stuff.
Yeah, I started watching him on the Daily Show when I was 12. So in that, it was mid. Right. It was mid primary season for the 2012 election. Yeah. And so I didn't know what the fuck was going on, and I learned. That's how I learned about politics in the world and a lot of stuff. Was watching his show, and I didn't get some of the jokes, but that was my intro to comedy. Yeah. And so he will always be a number one for me. The other thing was I remember the first special I watched was Kevin Hart's Laugh at My Pain. Second most special I watched was probably one of my favorites is Chris Rock's Bigger and Blacker. Okay. Those two specials were just
I'm even with the sure. That sounds very familiar.
Yeah, it came out is that 99 it came out? Yeah. But those are specials I could quote entire 5-minute chunks from that whole thing to people. I loved those specials so much. And also the cool thing about Chris Rock's was so the Kevin Hart one wasn't that blue. Wasn't as blue as Chris Rock's. Just their comedy's not the same. But Chris Rock's, I watched it now. That was the first time I was I saw it because I watched it alone. I was I can't watch this with my parents. My parents they saw the history of on the whatever TV had who recorded Chris Rock Bigger and Blacker. And I was that was me. And so Mom, do you want to watch this? And I watched it with my mom, and she was laughing. I was okay, this is it. Yeah. Where this is the first time she's cool with me watching something that it wasn't quote appropriate for me at that age. Yeah.
So I don't know that I necessarily think Chris Rock when I see kind of your comedy. I think you have your own kind of thing. I do think when you brought up Jon Stewart, I was that makes sense, because I think you have a very good, almost TV personality kind of humor to you. Yeah, I think you would be good for something like a Daily Show type host. I feel a lot of the people I know in the comedy scene, I kind of affix personalities or archetypes, I guess you could say to them. Like Khaled, I'd say Khaled Johnson, who has been on this podcast.
Very funny comedian.
He reminds me a lot of like something in a Dave Chappelle kind of sphere, in terms of like he tells these stories and he can go off on these tangents and the tangents are still funny. And he's, I think, like what you were talking about, a storyteller comedian where he's got a long story but he's got funny bits throughout that keep it alive. Whereas I'm more like a 90s dark comedian kind of guy where it's like very short and sweet stuff. Like I think of like Mitch Hedberg or Anthony Jeselnik and stuff like that. I'm not saying I'm as funny as them, but I'm saying that's like the style or the brand of comedy that I would be on a suggested thing if I got popular enough on one of their videos.
That checks out.
And I think the same for you for like a Jon Stewart or maybe a Chris Rock.
I wanted to be the host of the Daily Show for the longest time when I was a kid. Like when I first started watching him, that was I was like, all right,
there's your comedy goal.
Like I want that job. Now I don't know if I want that job. That's a lot. I don't know if I want that.
Because the times that we're in, or
no, just you listen to people on interviews and stuff. You're like, oh, that's a lot of work.
I just wanted to come in and have fun for work. I didn't want to actually put in effort.
I don't want to fuck around. I don't want.
Well, I heard like Jon Stewart in particular, he like would actually read all the books from like cover to cover when he had guests who
did he? I don't think he did. There's a lot. There's a couple.
It could be producers.
There's a couple interviews where I'm watching like, all right, someone clearly like
gave him cliff notes.
I don't blame him.
Yeah. Because it's a small window of time. I imagine he's got
like his 4 interviews a week. He can't watch every movie. Read every book in time to like do that. But no, like wouldn't be surprised if there's like some intern is like, hey, like 2 weeks out, hey, we're having I don't know. Just some fucking author.
Yeah.
Hey, read their book.
J.K. Rowling. Because it's Pride Month.
Not J.K. Rowling. Hey, this is author coming on. Read the book. Give me some notes so I can like riff on something or like, no. I wouldn't. Once again, I'm kind of joking around. It'd be cool to work on a show like that, but the host says like, do I want all that pressure? I could just be a correspondent. That seems.
There you go. Yeah. Like, build up to it.
Yeah.
A lot of the correspondents went on to do big things. Steve Carell, Steve Colbert.
It is. Yeah. That's.
Those are two that jump out immediately.
Yeah, to me, like that's a sign of like how good that show is. Like almost everyone who worked on that show like had a really good career after that. Yeah. They learned a lot there. Like John Oliver.
That's another one.
Samantha Bee had her own show. She just produced a short film that got nominated for an Oscar last year. So
I want to come back to something real quick. Well, actually, not come back to. I'm going to introduce something new. But
okay.
I brought this up with Khaled, and I think you probably have kind of a similar instance that came up in your life. But in terms of like your name, did you? Because I think when I first met you, you were introduced as Johnny Rad.
Oh, jeez. Okay.
But your name is John Rademacher. Yeah. So do you have like a struggle with your stage name and kind of the persona you're trying to create?
Yes and no. So the backstory with the nickname, I was new in comedy. Did you ever meet Paige Campbell?
That sounds so familiar.
We've definitely talked about
so.
it. He was one of the so it was Chris Allen, Winston Hodges, Alex Chastain, Paige Campbell. Like they were the 4 dudes I met when I started comedy. They've been doing it longer.
Yeah.
They were kind of the main guys at the Southern, and so I was new. No one knew how to say my last name, and I was talking at the bar, and like out of nowhere, Paige just goes Johnny Rad, and Chris liked it, and so that just kind of stuck. So
I mean, it's a good name.
I mean, I don't hate it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a fun name, and I don't mind like people in Charlottesville call me that, but like that's not a stage name I want to like have everywhere. Like
that's not the label you want.
No, like when I go to like Richmond or DC or elsewhere, like I want my full name.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't mind it. But the thing is, like now there are people who just know me as Johnny Rad because they've only like Bruno Jardem, a comedian, a really good friend of ours. He's a little newer and like. He saw me first as Johnny Rad when I was brought up on stage, and like him and all of his friends who come to shows call me Johnny, and I had to be like, that's not my name.
I didn't introduce myself as that.
I've never gone by that, and I want to go by that. Just please call me John. And now it's just too much. I haven't. Like there are Mitchell Page, another comic, same thing.
Yeah. He
called me Johnny, and yes, he was like, I know. Yes, he got mad at himself. He was like, I know it's not Johnny, but that's all I hear you. Like it's fine. Just it's fine. But yeah, no. Outside of Charles, I'd rather be referred to as my actual name.
Gotcha. Because I have kind of the same issue where my name is difficult to pronounce for people who are not familiar with Spanish. And I think some people don't even know it's a Spanish name because my first name is so white. So I have gone back and forth about if I want to create a stage name or if I want to just own the name, which I pretty much settled on. I'm just going to own the name because I like my name, and it's gotten to the point where I don't feel like I should change it for other people's company, especially today when you got people like Aziz Ansari or who have much more complicated names than mine. It's like, you can figure this out.
What I said early on was like, well, we learned Zach Galifianakis. We can learn
exactly. Yeah. Well,
not a knock on him. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
That's.
Well, one of my favorite comedians, Anthony Jeselnik, he talked about that because he's had his name mispronounced a couple different ways. I thought it was Jeselnik for a long time, but he says Jeselnik, so I assume it's Jeselnik. But he said, yeah, my name's difficult, so I went to a mic once and I decided to just use my middle name, so I went by Anthony Matthew. And the host still messed his name up. He's like, well, if you're going to mess up something simple like Matthew, I might as well use my real name.
Yeah.
But it is difficult for branding, I think, sometimes, in terms of when you're trying to decide. But like you said, Rademacher's not that hard.
You can learn it. The first time, people get thrown by it, but once they say it a couple times, they get it. I don't know.
So what made you actually want to try stand-up for the first time?
Well, like I said, so I've been watching comedy since I was like 12. And so, I mean, with my friends, I was always telling jokes. Like I said, I could watch a special. There's if there's a bit I could just quote the whole thing to them, verbatim. And a friend of mine, a really good friend of mine, was like, "No, you should try stand up." And I was like, "Oh, that's insane. I wouldn't do that." And she goes, "No, you should definitely try. You're really funny. Make everyone laugh." And I was like, "Are you just trying to get me to? Are you just done hearing my jokes to get me to annoy other people with this?" And she's like, "No, there's a mic at the Southern Cafe downtown. Just go try it, look it up, see whenever they do it." Because back then in Southern, they did it once a month. I mean, now it's every week, but yeah, it was maybe once a month. So I looked for it, and I told my parents I was thinking about it, and they were both like, "No."
They forbade you, or
no,
they're
they were
just
"I don't think it's a good idea."
Okay.
And so I waited till the week I turned 18. I was still in high school at the time.
I'm an adult.
Yeah.
I can do what I want.
I was like, that's the birthday gift to myself. I'm gonna try stand up. Also, keep in mind the reason my mom was so afraid was because this is September of 2017, a month before was when the riot in Charlottesville happened. She was like, I do not want my black son speaking his mind in public. A street over from where a white woman was murdered by a Nazi. I'm not cool with that.
You'll be halfway through your set and someone's going to crash a Mustang through the building.
Yeah,
or whatever
vehicle it was.
I'm
Dodge
sorry.
Challenger? Yeah, Dodge Challenger.
Why do you know so much about that event?
Because it happened in my fucking town, dude. My neighbor almost got hit by that car. I know, yeah.
I read the license plate.
There's a million pictures. You can look up the license plate. I'm sure the car's been impounded by now.
Yeah,
but,
which sucks because that dude borrowed it from me and I wanted it back, but he just... No, I'm just messing. Go on.
Do you think they scrapped that car, or do you think they just fixed it and they're like, let's just sell it to them. Let's just sell it used?
They would have had to at least paint it, I think.
I don't know.
Maybe they stripped it for parts. Maybe it's in a museum somewhere. Who knows?
Maybe. I don't know. I just think it's funny if they just sold it and now they're just someone driving the car, but they don't realize it's that car.
It's like a cursed car where it's going to come to life in the middle of the night. It's like, where are the protesters?
So anyway, so I turned 18, and I think it was. So I turned 18 on a Tuesday, and I think it was. I'm fairly sure it was a Friday.
Okay.
Because the mic also wasn't the same day every week.
Yeah.
Or the same day every month. They get bounced around. So I was like, so I wrote out 5 minutes. So it's a weird thing. Do you know Dion Cole, right?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, you gotta look him up. He's so funny. Also, if you're listening to this, look up Dion Cole. He's hysterical. But he had a half hour on Netflix, and he walked on stage. He took a piece of paper and folded it, and made it kind of like a long, slim piece of paper, and wrote all the jokes down.
Okay.
He does this thing where he's like, I'm gonna try out some jokes. It just makes it seem like it's he's just trying out new stuff. And he did that for a half hour, and he just crushed. It was so funny. And so I was I copied I didn't copy his jokes, but whole walk on stage with a paper folder like that. I did the exact same thing.
So it was like a giant stick?
No, it was just a regular piece of paper. You just kind of fold it, so it's kind of a long photo lengthwise.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, once again, look him up on Netflix. It's hysterical. So I did that, and what did I even talk about?
Do you remember any of those jokes?
A few of them. I did them, I did. Also, I told my dad I was going. I did not tell my mom. I just told her afterwards, because I was like, you're just going to I don't know what you're going to do. I didn't bring anyone. Mm-hmm. That's the other thing. If you're trying to open mic, go alone. Go alone. Just feel it out. Because the number of times I've seen people just bomb in front of all of their friends or bomb in front of a first date, it's just like, dude.
Oh my gosh.
It was and it happens. It happens to everyone. I'm I didn't do bad the first night, but those jokes were kind of hacky.
Yeah. Oh, how so?
Just like a mix. So my white family's like this, but my black family's like this. This Thanksgiving's like here. Thanksgiving's like this here. Yeah. It was that, and I did a joke. So I just turned 18, so I did a joke about I gotta sign up for the draft. Yeah. And it was I'm gonna go fight North Korea because they were threatening to nuke us again. Mm-hmm.
Just very low-hanging fruit, easy type of jokes.
Just low-hanging fruit, easy stuff.
I gotcha.
I still do mixed jokes now, but I haven't done those.
They're a little more clever, nuanced, or
a little more
personal.
Yeah, a little more. Those are personal, but just I don't know. Looking back, it's those weren't it was personal, but still along the same vein. It's my white family's like this, my black family's like this, and I don't know. So, but yeah, what else did it? Those kind of the main things that it jokes about. But yeah, no, it didn't go bad.
Do you have a topic or something that you specifically like to talk about when you're on stage?
No, there's no one topic I want to talk. It's just I don't know, just stuff that's happening in my life / just observations. It's sometimes a lot of stuff is just sometimes things that just bug me.
Okay. Because I've heard you do you said, being mixed and incorporating that in jokes. Mm-hmm. I like your German jokes where you talk about German words or your German heritage and stuff like that. Yeah,
because I teach German, and that's just that's the thing I do. Yeah. And I think it's a hysterical language.
Yeah. But you do have, I think, a good spread then, now that I think about it. I wouldn't be he's the guy who does jokes about this stuff.
Yeah. I had a joke. I still do sometimes jokes. I used to be a swim coach. Mm-hmm. I do joke. That's mainly just because, I need, a clean set, those are the jokes I use. Yeah. Because they're fun, and I like to do them. And it was, I was a swim coach for a very long time. So, I do those every now and then.
When I had to come up with specifically clean jokes, I did jokes that were, meta about doing stand-up comedy. So, comparing comedy to performing music or talking about hosting an open mic or something like that. So I was I don't know how to categorize clean because I don't do dirty jokes, but I do really dark jokes. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't use profanity, it doesn't say anything sexual, but it's still not something you do in church or something, you know what I mean? So coming up with something that's, quote unquote clean was very difficult for me to wrap my head around, I guess, or to make it objective.
Yeah, I did kind of luck out with those two jobs, being a teacher and being a swim coach, because just the jokes I naturally wrote weren't dirty. I just gotta not curse when I tell them. I don't need to curse when I tell them. Sometimes I just do. But if I just don't curse, I can usually get 10 minutes of clean material.
I saw a comedian who. He's kind of like my style, where he does very dark jokes, and a lot of them are one-liners. And at the end of his set, it was a Comedy Central special. Mm-hmm. At the end of his set, he points out, he's I hope you all took notice that not once during my set did I use any profanity or swear word. And then he did a joke about that. But I was oh yeah, through looking back, you don't have to say profanity.
You really don't.
And in some ways, that actually might be a crutch if you're just relying on dropping an F-bomb in the middle of a set that otherwise wouldn't be funny, you know what I mean?
I did have a joke where I think for a clean set, I didn't say the F word when I used to say the F word, and it didn't it got some laugh and as big of a laugh, and a person was is this joke only funny because I say fuck? And when that's is that a good joke if that's the only reason that's funny? In which case all right, well, I'm not going to do it anymore.
Start doubting yourself.
No, so you start doubting yourself. All right, so maybe that's not a good joke if the only thing that's funny is the fact that I say fuck. I feel it should be, if I take the cursing out, it should still work.
Yeah. No, there's definitely a struggle to writing when it comes to that. Do you have a specific process that you do?
When it comes to writing?
Yeah.
no.
What was your approach when you first started?
When I first started, it was just, once again, it was just that kind of bugged me. It sucks that, like, I don't know, it's like, I'm like, I don't know, like, I'm just, once again, something that bugs me or something in my life that I've observed, whether it's like at work or with friends or with my girlfriend, and like situation happens, and I'm like thinking, like, just, I don't know, I don't write things, like, I sometimes will take notes for like a premise. It'll be like 5 lines, and I just gotta pray to God that by the time I go back to it, like, it makes some sense. It happens a lot when I'm driving.
Yeah.
And so, like,
when you can't write.
When I can't write, so like I gotta hope there's a light coming up soon, so I can stop, type this down quick, and then get going.
Turn on your camera, maybe. Like, if you keep your phone on one of those magnet things, just turn on your camera and verbally say it.
Or I've done the voice to text, but then like it fucks up a couple words. And
Yeah.
Wait, what was I trying to say here?
Trying to say vagina, not Virginia.
Yes. I can use context clues for stuff like that. But every now and then I like typed it out in a situation like that, and then I come back to it, I'm like, wait, what was I saying? Like this, because I only typed like a couple lines.
Yeah.
Like boom, and I was like, I don't know if any of this connects. Like vagina, pope, horses.
It's like you woke up from a dream and you wrote down what you're dreaming about, and then when you became more lucid, you're like, what was I saying here?
Because lately, like, I drive to DC, so I'm on the road for like 2 hours there and back, and so like on the beginning, I'll think of something like, oh, that might be funny, and let me type that down. I get on the highway, and my mind wanders to somewhere else because I got music playing or I listen to a podcast, and
Stage Time podcast every Monday. Go on.
Of course. And then I get there, and I like whatever like thought process I was on at the beginning was completely gone, and then I get there, I'm like, I don't even know what the fuck was going on here.
I've had moments like that where I think of something and I'm like, I should write this down, but I'm too busy doing something else. Then by the time I get a moment, I was like, oh, what was I thinking of? Like, it seemed so funny at the time, and now I've just lost gold. I've left money on the table.
Oh yeah, you always picture it like you're just killing it, like you're at a sold out theater just crushing, and then like that sometimes like I'd get it down, I'd write it verbatim, and I get on stage and I'm like, I get nothing. I'm like, oh my God, I could really, like, it was so delusional.
Yeah. Oh, I've had that. So, you said you did okay your first time?
Yeah, no, I did okay. I wouldn't say I bombed, but I was just looking at it, like, all right, I didn't realize, like, who crushes their first time?
Yeah. Like, so what made you stick with it?
I mean, like, I did well. The comics I met there were really cool. JR, actually me and him started the same night. He does more acting now. Okay. But I mean, I was a kid. I was 18. I was like, so I just saw him outside. It was like he was an adult who was smoking with a notepad. I'm like, oh, this guy must be like a seasoned comic.
Yeah.
I walk up to him like, hey, so like, where's the list to sign up? He goes, oh, I don't know. I've never done this before. And I'm like, oh, shit. All right, cool.
Well, it is crazy because like not everybody starts when they're prime college age or whatever. Like some people get it. Dave Scott was like 65 or something when he. I don't know how old he is, but he's an old guy. He started pretty much after he retired. So it's like people get into this at different points in life. Ken Jeong, actor who's been in a bunch of stuff, Community, he started very late in life. And he was like
a heart surgeon, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was an actual doctor before. And then one day he's just like, you know what? I want to try comedy. Yeah. And his wife said, okay, I guess. So he quit his doctor job to do stand-up, and then he ended up in, I think Knocked Up was his first big movie because he played a doctor in that.
Yeah. All right. Also, piece of advice: keep your day job. Don't quit immediately. Definitely hold on to that.
Well, maybe he had enough saved up because he was a doctor.
Okay,
He's
true.
Like,
he could live off
if this doesn't work out, Also, he has a degree, so it's like I could just go back to working at a hospital. But yeah, if you're, I don't know, say a middle school civics teacher.
Oh yeah, I'm a public school teacher. What is a savings account? Please tell me. Yeah. They sound cool.
I do have a lesson. Well, I had a lesson. I'm not doing it anymore. But where I would talk about, when we get to the Great Depression, I talk about how credit works. And I tell all my students, clear your desks, put your Chromebooks away, do not take your phones out. I want everybody to pay attention to this video that explains how credit cards work. And I hopefully create a lasting impression that will prevent the next housing crisis, but who knows? Probably not.
You may have taught the kids who's going to cause it. You never know.
Yeah, I know. Last year I was helping out a teacher. She was a personal finance teacher,
and like she doesn't need an extra hand on her classes, so I was just there the other day, and there's so many days I'm like, God, I fucking hope these kids are listening. Like,
Yes.
We get to like mortgages and auto loans and all that, and we get to like and when she's like, they need you to listen to me. Never get a payday loan. Never. And then she would let me teach a couple of classes, and like so that day one class after, so she did the first block, I did the second one. I was like, guys, please listen. If you ever need money, like you really need money, burn every bridge with all your friends and family before you get a payday loan. That is the last fucking resort. Please borrow from anyone else.
Do not keep opening credit cards. If you get a new credit card, do not use it unless it's an emergency, and then pay it off immediately.
Yeah.
All right. This financial lesson brought to you by Stage Time Podcast.
We're taking notes.
Yeah. I think this is probably a good time. We'll get to our crowd work segment where we take listener questions.
Oh boy.
And we had a few. John vetoed some. So at Jessica G Comedy on Instagram said, do you pivot based on the audience demographics or say, fuck it, these are my jokes, I'm doing them?
It depends on, depends on the venue on the show. Because there have definitely been nights where like I have jokes about race planned and I got them like it's an all white crowd and I'm like, all right, do I do them anyway or do I do something else? Because like I had it isn't like it's like I have jokes that are more likely to work better in that crowd, but then it's like, all right, well this is like a mic or a showcase where like I'm not getting paid and the host's like, yeah, if you want to do new stuff, you can throw in some new stuff. That's totally fine. Like all right, so I'm gonna do like the jokes I want to do because I need to work them out. And some nights I do like, all right, I'm not going to do my race jokes. I'm going to do these other jokes that they're probably going to like a little more. And maybe the other jokes that aren't about race are still stuff I need to work on. So like, I'll just work on these other jokes, not these jokes. There was one night recently, literally same thing. I'm hosting a show, all race jokes planned. I didn't even really realize that's what was going on. I was like, oh, I want to do these jokes. I haven't done them in a minute. So I plan this out and I get out there and there's only one row of black people. Like the front row is like 3 black dudes and like everyone else is all white. So I get on stage and I'm like, hey, what's up? I say, introduce. I'm like, hey, so I have a set about race and I have a set about my job as a teacher. Which one do y'all want to hear tonight? And the whole crowd goes, race. And I'm like, all right, it's weird that a crowd of white people just yelled. Fine. And they asked for it and I did it and it was going fine. But after someone was like, all right, I'm gonna transition to other stuff because I just like it. Once again, wasn't bombing, but it was very just like I don't know, just
It wasn't satisfying for you.
Not that it wasn't satisfying. It was more just like it was kind of a.
You didn't want to be the token black guy? Or?
No, they're the black people show. I'm trying to think of this like. It was hard to build any momentum.
Oh, I see.
Because there were just times where like certain crowds like just white crowds were getting uncomfortable with jokes about race, even though I'm a black dude telling them, and that should be like, you can laugh at this, like I'm telling you it's funny. But they would get a laugh, and then like I couldn't build any momentum, and I wanted to set the show up well, so I was like, all right, I tried the jokes, they went fine, they still like me, I'm gonna transition to other stuff, so I can end stronger, so the first comic after me has a good set. Some like, once again, just depends on the room. Depends on if I'm hosting or if I'm like just in the middle of the act, if I'm gonna change the jokes for the crowd.
So, because I think I maybe heard you do this once, but I think for the most part you probably avoid the N-bomb during your sets.
I just don't say it in my life.
So it just feels off to
it just sounds weird when I say it. Like I just never grew up saying it. Like I just never say it. So now like I just don't.
Because Khaled only does it when he does a specific joke.
Yeah.
But Jamar says it all the time.
Yeah. And Khaled probably grew up saying it a lot, and then same with Jamar. It's like I just like so once again, I mix. My mom's black. She never said it around the house. And like I try to make this work, but the whole bit was just like the only times as a kid I heard the N-word were like in a movie, like a civil rights movie, when a racist white dude's yelling it at someone. So I just learned, you don't say this word.
Yeah.
So I just never said it.
I get you.
And so now when I'm on stage, it sounds weird, and like if I'm embarrassed to say, like I have to like think about saying it with a soft A, not a hard R. And that was what the jokes were like. I was pre-programmed to say it with a hard R because the only way I ever saw it was like in a civil rights movie and like or a slave movie, like in those movies were just like it's like there's always like one super racist dude. Where just,
Oh,
like,
yes.
There's a vein popping out of his forehead. He's so mad people are sitting at the front of the bus. Like, he's
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
There's that dude shouting it. That's the only person I've heard say it for so long.
So you never heard it in like a colloquial sense. I get
It
you.
was a while before.
That's
I did.
funny though. Like
it was like a while before like I heard it in a song or like in a movie that
Yeah,
was
yeah.
about like black people and they were just saying it amongst themselves.
Yeah,
and it
yeah.
wasn't in a racist way, and I was like, oh, okay, it can't like yeah.
I gotcha.
So yeah, no, I just don't say it, and like, and I have a couple jokes where I say it, but just I don't know, I don't. It doesn't sound right coming out of my mouth, so I try to avoid it.
It's not natural for you.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
The fact
some
that I have
people
to
it
think,
is.
The
but-
fact that I have to think about it is
Exactly,
just weird,
yeah.
and but just be a sign like I shouldn't say this much.
Yeah, I think there needs to be a persona that kind of goes along with the way that you talk, maybe. Like, not even in a racial sense, but just in, if you're one comedian trying to do a different personality, then that just doesn't work out.
Oh yeah, no, that's I definitely like this one thing I kind of learned towards the beginning when I started doing comedy is like just don't try to be something you're not. Like I'm not the kind of guy who says the N-word, so I'm just not really gonna say it. Like
that makes
don't
sense.
don't just be yourself on stage because the audience is like it's weird. Like there are things you can do on stage that will like kind of guide the audience to where how you want them to feel about a certain
Yeah.
topic or a certain joke you're setting up, but they also can see through bullshit really easily. And so if you're being something you're not, they're gonna recognize that
Yeah.
very easily. So yeah, just be yourself because like that'll come off better.
Kind of on that note, for me, I have adjusted to audiences sometimes, but it depends on how it starts. So like if I'm doing just kind of my like potpourri jokes, I call it, just like jokes about random things or whatever, and the audience responds to that, I'll kind of stay on that vein. If I start getting into my dark stuff, which is I think what most of my material probably is, it's mostly dark stuff, and they don't respond to that, then sometimes I just dig my heels in and I'm like, I'm gonna make this uncomfortable for all of us, or I'm gonna see if I can finally push it to where someone realizes this, because I wonder if that's what's wrong sometimes, is that they think I'm being serious, and I'm like, let me just say something outrageously absurd and dark and see if they realize that I'm joking around. And I did that once at JMU. They had some sort of open, it was like mostly a music open mic, but I went there and there was time, so I was like, I'll try some jokes. So I did some of my stand-up jokes. They were not responsive, but I just kept going dark. And then when I got off stage, my friend who was the host, she's like, yeah, most of the kids here right now are from something called Young Life, which is a Catholic organization on school.
yeah,
so they did not like some of the specific jokes that I did.
No, know your audience.
Yeah, exactly. But I was like, screw it, whatever. It was like, I wasn't getting paid, so kind of like what you said. It's like, I'll just try it out.
Yeah, just trying it out. It's a low stakes show.
Yeah, but no, when I do paid shows, I try to be more mindful of the audience specifically, because I want to get invited back.
Yeah, definitely want to get invited back, and also don't want to fuck up the person after you.
Yes, that can definitely kill the vibe too.
Yeah, because I've been that comic, and I've seen comics bomb so bad the rest of the show is just fucked up.
Yeah,
and it's gonna take a while to get it back on track. So it's just like, yeah, that's why I'm like, all right, I'll change my jokes a little bit, or just like not just like, or like, all right, so I'll just pick different jokes that will probably do better, so I don't fuck up whoever comes up after me.
We'll go on to the next question. This one's from Instagram, Frau_Montalbein's
Moin,
response. This is kind of the topic of the whole episode, but do you remember your first stand-up gig? What have you learned since? I haven't asked that specifically. What have you learned since? Did you have like a big takeaway?
From the first time?
Yeah.
Besides the fact that I like doing this and want to keep doing this.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. The first few times, it's like you just gotta like. I mean, Bill Burr said this, so I don't want to make
Plagiarism.
I don't want to make something that's close to mine, but like, no,
Yeah.
the first few times you do, it's like you just about getting the balls to get on stage.
Yeah,
That's kind of it. Like
that's the biggest obstacle.
you
for
get
everybody.
laughs, cool. Like I've seen plenty of people bomb their first time and they keep doing it and they get funnier, but just like they kept coming back because they're like, no, I want to do this. I feel like because they got a couple laughs, like all right, I can hold on to that for a month. But yeah, no, like just having the guts to keep getting on stage.
I was kind of like you. I didn't have an outstanding first set, but I got a few laughs on some of my jokes, and I think that was enough to get me going. If I had gotten dead silence, I don't know that I would have stuck with it. So I think there is something for, like, I admire the people who bombed and then came back. Yeah. As long as they improve. If they're just being annoying or they're just terrible.
There's definitely people who like bomb the first time, they come back to the exact same set, and you're like, okay, dude, change something up.
Yeah, exactly. Learn from your mistakes.
Like this is the process is bombing.
Yeah.
Figuring out why you bombed, and then try to like just don't. Yeah, no, those people are out there.
Yeah, but yeah, I don't know. Like, what would you tell yourself? Like, if you could time travel back and catch yourself before you went up on stage the first time.
Once again, there's 100 things I would tell myself. Move the mic stand out of the way. Okay, so there's one time I literally tried to pace the stage like Chris Rock.
Yeah.
And if you've never been to the Southern, you're not really on a stage.
Yes.
And you don't have a lot of room. So I was walking back and forth. It was literally like 5 feet. I was pacing. It looked insane. Yeah, just I don't know, little stuff like that. Oh, one thing I learned was me personally, be careful watching stand up and then going on stage immediately afterwards, because like I will get someone's cadence stuck in my head.
Yeah,
and that's like
I've seen that.
Like,
yeah,
for me a big one's like Lewis Black. If I listen to Lewis Black at all,
you start shouting at people. And
no, it's like
your
my
hands
inner
around.
monologue. It's like it'd be my jokes, but it's his tone, and I gotta like, all right, I need a couple hours in between like listening to him and then
cleanse your palate.
Yes, cleanse my palate, like, either because I can't like listen to Lewis Black and then go write jokes or like go tell jokes. Then it's like, no, I'm gonna be in his tone.
There's the Womacs, who've both been on the show before. They host a comedy class, and they say that's one of the things that they go over in their class. So if you ever take a comedy class, they'll go over things like the nuances of how to perform on stage. So things like you said, take the mic stand and set it aside so it's not blocking your view. You know, be aware of your stage space, where to hold the microphone so that you're not...
hold the mic, like, because that was something Winston Hodges told me, is like, just make sure the mic's in front of me, because like because like, I mean, if you watch a special, they have a good mic that can pick up the sound from a little further away.
And there's probably a sound guy who's constantly making adjustments.
Yeah, but at an open mic, it's not the best mic, and so like, it was moving away from my mouth too much, and so like people just weren't hearing parts of the setup.
That's what I always hate too. Like when I hear a comedian tell a good joke, but there's a technical difficulty, or they just happen to pull away from the mic and nobody can hear it, and I'm just like, oh.
Yeah. Oh,
missed out.
Another thing I would tell myself: silence isn't always bad.
Yes.
Yeah. Like, you ever seen a comic just be very comfortable with silence, and it becomes kind of a power move.
I started following this guy on Instagram who does these reviews. I can't remember his name right now, or else I'd give him a shout out. He's very good at kind of picking up on things like that, and one of the things he says is, after you tell a punchline, don't look away from the crowd. Because I've sent him some of my videos, and he'll do reviews and stuff. I sent him an open mic video where I tell a joke, and then I look down at my notebook to see what the next joke is.
Yeah.
And he said, when you break eye contact, that kind of kills the vibe of the crowd, or they think like you're not paying attention to them. But also, don't step on a laugh. Like, sometimes you need to give
slow
them...
down. That was another thing I had to tell myself, because I like when I get nervous, I talk fast, and I'm better managing that now. But like then I would talk way too fast, and I would talk over. They'd be laughing, and I would start the next joke. So they didn't catch all the setup before I get to the next. Yeah, that was a problem.
I've had some jokes where it takes a minute to understand the punchline, so like I have to let it hang there, and then the laughs will come, because like that's part of the humor of the joke. I think sometimes it's like, you know, the clock is ticking in their head, and then all of a sudden the alarm goes off, like, oh, I get it, and then they start laughing. But if you do it like you did, which I've done all the time, where the silence makes it uncomfortable, so I just move on to the next joke, and I don't give them a chance to.
Yeah, because there are times where like silence is, like, let's say you're doing a longer setup, the silence isn't you bombing, it's them, they're listening. And like, it took me a while to like kind of recognize that in an audience, like, all right, they're not like, there's a difference between like silence and that, like, they don't think you're funny. It sounds like, oh no, we're very interested in you and what you're saying. Keep talking. Like, if you are building up tension, and that'll get to a big laugh. Like, don't get uncomfortable if there's silence because they're listening to you, or like, or not. Yeah, that was kind of the big thing, because I got really freaked out by that when I wrote jokes that had a longer setup, or like I do the setup and I think I add a tag in the middle, and the tag doesn't hit, but they don't like, doesn't hit, but like that doesn't really throw off the whole joke. I can
Yeah.
keep going, and so.
Yeah, I think sometimes, especially, the silence plays into the setup. Like, you need to let them stew on that hang, and then you cut the silence with the awesome punchline. That's all we got for right now.
Oh, you motherfuckers not sending me questions?
I know. Yeah, if you have questions, either for specific comedians or that you just want me to ask people in general, please message me, comment on Instagram, or comment on the YouTube videos, wherever you are able to find this podcast, and give us more to talk about. I personally like talking about the introspective, looking back at my first time and seeing how other people's experiences differ and what they're able to get away from it, especially people who have different comedy styles from me.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's pretty much what we got. So, John, do you have anything coming up that you want to plug, or any projects you got going on?
All right, wait. I'm looking
The
to make sure I
17th.
get the time and location right.
That's
I have a
fine.
show in Richmond on the 19th of June at the Art and Barrel Room. Once again in Richmond. Show's called Airplane Food. A lot of really funny comics on there. Please check that out. Show starts at 8. If you follow me on Instagram, it's John_Rademacher, Rademacher, Rademacher. I have the link to the tickets. You can get them there. I've been on the Chris Allen Show a couple times. You can check out any of those. Those are always really fun.
And you're doing skits with him too now.
Yeah, we filmed a sketch together. Yeah, that was really fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where can they find that?
That's on Instagram. If you follow Chris Allen, just follow him anyway. He's really funny. He's a cool dude, or a good comedian. Just follow him, and I think that's on my page too. That sketch that we did. Yeah, it was a sketch about the dude in the office who always brings the smelliest fucking lunch, and how we all hate that guy.
Yeah.
I've been that guy. I shouldn't shit on him too much, but we all know that dude.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for coming on. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Yep. And any last words?
Any last words? Just any advice for?
You can say vote Trump if you want. I don't care.
So, other thing I learned, I wanted to come back to this. If there's a heckler, something I learned is just make sure the audience is always on your side.
Yeah.
Because they're
Not on the heckler side.
not on the heck. Just like, because I've also had it where like, so there's a table up front. They're talking. Like, just over you. Not saying anything rude, they just keep talking. No one else can hear them talking. It's distracting you, but the rest of the audience doesn't hear them. It doesn't hear what they're saying. Don't just blow up on them, because then they think you're just shouting at this table for no reason. Like, just be like, hey, keep the table talk down. Like, there's ways to like kind of like there's ways to address it up front if you want to address it at all. That will make the audience be like, okay, he's not being a dick out of nowhere. There's a reason. Like, yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, John. I appreciate you being on the show, taking this time. And follow John where all those places he said. Thank you all for coming, and keep up and support local comedy.